My name is Maria Nicolou, news anchor and journalist at Alpha TV Greece. Alpha is one of the leading private channels in Greece, and it's my pleasure to welcome you at today's webinar on women in diplomacy. I would like to thank the organizers. Nail Day, yesterday, celebrated on 8th of March, and it is also an important event considering the amidst international geopolitical fragility, where no women involved in 80% of peace talks at the international level in the period 2020-2023, according to UN Women. So today we have the pleasure and honor to welcome women diplomats and experts from the countries of the wider Black Sea region to provide them with a platform to share their experience, valuable insights, and raise awareness on the role of women in regional cooperation, peace building, and sustainable development, especially this period. We have two words open, and we see what is happening even today in the Middle East. So without further delay, I would like to invite to give the floor, His Excellency, the BSEC Secretary General, Ambassador Lazar Komanescu. Your Excellency, I hope I pronounce your well correctly, Lazar Komanescu, so who will deliver the welcome address. Mr. Ambassador, good morning from Athens. The floor is yours.
Good morning. Good morning from here, from Istanbul, from the premises of the Black Sea Economic Cooperation Organization. And let me start, Excellencies, distinguished participants, by sharing with you that it is for me a great privilege to be together with you today to celebrate the remarkable contribution women diplomats from our countries have in advancing dialogue and development across the Black Sea region. This webinar, jointly organized by BSEC PERMIS and the ICBSS, under the auspices of the Georgian Chairmanship-in-Office of BSEC, is not merely in commemoration of the International Women's Day you referred to, and which we celebrated yesterday. It is much more than that. It is a recognition of the indispensable and outstanding role women play in shaping diplomacy in this part of the world. Their ability to foster dialogue, promote mutual understanding, and drive sustainable development is highly valued, while their leadership abilities are a powerful reminder that inclusivity strengthens cooperation and ensures our collective efforts and allows us to be more resilient and impactful. Real facts about the contribution of women are, I have quite a lot of examples. I would say first that in many, if not all, the member states of BSEC women diplomats now outnumber their male colleagues. Within the Committee on Senior Officials of this organization, the representation of women has been steadily growing. 9 of the county coordinators of more than 20 working groups of BSEC have now at the helm women. And this number is continuing to grow. The first Deputy Secretary General of the PERMIS has been for many years a woman, and that's the case today as well. and I'm glad to be able to say that. Among our professional staff, 1/3 are women, and in the supporting staff, 7 of the 11 members of the staff are women as well. And I will add a personal note. I really hope, and I sincerely hope, that my successor as Secretary General of the BSEC PERMIS will be a woman. I think it's high time. Never been the case so far. So these facts are not just statistics. They are evidence of a transformation. They show that women are not only present in diplomacy, but increasingly shaping its direction and priorities. Their dedication, professionalism, and vision have been instrumental in advancing BSEC's mission. They bring energy, creativity, and the spirit of collaboration that strengthens our work every day. Their contribution reminds us that diplomacy is not only about agreements and policies, but about people who make cooperation possible. The Black Sea is more than a geographical space. It is a crossroad of cultures, economies, and strategic interests. It is a region where cooperation is not a luxury, but a necessity. And when we look at the global developments, we may realize how important it is, this is a real necessity. And in this complex environment, women diplomats have consistently demonstrated the ability to build bridges, foster trust, and promote dialogue even in times of tension. And there is a lot of tension. Their leadership is not only valuable, it is indispensable. Women diplomats bring perspectives that enrich our collective efforts. They emphasize inclusivity, sustainability, and empathy, qualities that strengthen resilience and ensure that our cooperation is both equitable and forward-looking. As BSEC, our mission is to promote economic collaboration and sustainable development. Women diplomats are at the forefront in this endeavor. They bring innovative approaches to connectivity, trade, and environmental protection. They champion education and cultural exchanges, reminding us that diplomacy is also about soft power, the power of understanding, of dialogue, and of shared values. In a region marked by geopolitical sensitivities, which the BSEC region is, dialogue remains our most powerful instrument. Women diplomats have shown time and again that they can create spaces for constructive engagement even when differences seem insurmountable. Second, advancing sustainable development. From climate resilience to inclusive economic growth, women's leadership ensure that our policies align with the global agenda and respond to the needs of all citizens. And third, strengthening cultural diplomacy. Women diplomats excel in building mutual understanding across borders, reminding us that cooperation is not only about agreements, but about human connection or building connectivity of minds. As Secretary General, I am proud to reaffirm BSEC's commitment to empowering women in diplomacy and leadership. we will continue to support initiatives that elevate women's voices. When women are at the table, dialogue becomes richer. And when women's perspectives are heard, the development becomes more sustainable. Let us therefore take today's discussion not only as a celebration, as I already said, but as a call to action, a call to ensure that inclusivity, cooperation, and dialogue remain the cornerstones of peace and prosperity in the Black Sea region. Together, we can build a region that is more stable, more connected, and more resilient. Thank you very much.
We always that. Thank you, Mr. Ambassador, Your Excellency, for your inspiring speech. And I keep two words. Women's connection is a human connection, and it's a connectivity of minds, which is very important. Thank you very much. And I would like now to invite and give the floor to ICBSS Director General, Mr. George Mitrakos, who will deliver some introductory remarks to set the scene about today's discussion. Dear George, Mr. Mitrakos, the floor is yours for the next 5 minutes.
Thank you, Maria, and thank you that you joined us today. I'm very glad to see you today with us. So, Your Excellencies, distinguished partners, panelists, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the co-organizer, the International Center of Black Sea Studies, I would like to take the opportunity to cordially thank you for your interest in today's webinar. The ICBSS is an independent research and training center focused on the wider Black Sea region, while at the same time is the official think tank of the BSEC organization. Today's timeless event is organized on the occasion of the International Women's Day yesterday, with the aim to highlight the pivotal role of the women in diplomacy and leadership in our region. This webinar aims to be an inspirational one, to have a positive connotation, but unfortunately the reality on the ground is less optimistic. More than 100 years since the women's rallies, the suffragette movement, have fueled social unrest and changes, numbers indicate that there is still more to be done for women to be able to stand freely against all forms of discrimination. Allow me to elaborate this. On the occasion of the day, the ICBSS has elaborated a report on gender equality in decision-making and employment in the wider Black Sea region, which provides comprehensive information on key indicators regarding gender equality and parity in decision-making and employment across the 13 BSEC member states. The full report is available on the ICBSS website. However, I would like to highlight two representative statistics. Women hold only 27 in 100 elected seats of national parliaments across the 13 BSEC countries. This is only an 80% increase over the last decade. I don't even want to mention the number of women in governments. Only 34 in 100 people are women in managerial, senior, or middle management positions, increasing just 3% over the last decade. And not to mention the disappointing gender pay gap, that it goes up to $25,000 per year. This pay gap, $25,000 pay gap each year in our region. One would think that the root of this limited progress lies with structural changes, but the BSEC countries score high in government's efforts to adopt legal frameworks that support and promote gender equality. In fact, evidence indicates that discriminatory behaviors are fueled by persistent social norms and stereotypes, which unfortunately our region is full of stereotypes, challenging any efforts of equality. 85 in 100 persons across the 13 countries of the BSEC region have at least one bias against women in having equal rights with men in politics, education, economy, and physical integrity. So let us think in this specific number. 8 out of 10 people in this region believe that women are lesser persons in society. Allow me to note two more observations as food for thought for the audience and for our esteemed speakers. Key regional policy-oriented documents like the 2023 BSEC Economic Agenda or the Common Maritime Agenda for the Black Sea make little to no reference to gender equality in the BSEC region. There are no regional indicators or mechanisms available to monitor the progress of gender equality across the BSEC region. Research for this matter is based only on the United Nations indexes. So, acknowledging the need to address this important issue in depth, I am pleased to announce that the ICBSS is launching a new initiative, the Gender Equality Program. The Gender Equality Program will use available data, information, statistics to study, assess, and monitor the current status and progress of gender equality across the 13 BSEC member states with the aim to raise awareness, contribute to policy advocacy, and stakeholder mobilization. The ICBSS report on gender equality in decision-making and employment in the wider Black Sea region, as well with this webinar, aim to initiate and feed in a continuous public discourse across the BSEC region about gender equality. Therefore, it is our great pleasure to welcome you today, all our distinguished speakers, women who have progressed in their professional careers in highly competitive and challenging environments, full of stereotypes, as I said earlier. So through their valuable insights and professional experience, they will give us the opportunity to know more about these challenges and their efforts to support gender-inclusive approaches in confidence building, policy making, and regional development. So with this note, I would like to thank you again for joining us today for this very timely event. And I invite you to be involved using the chat and to share questions and views on this important issue. Thank you for your attention.
Yes.
Maria?
Yes. Organized under the auspices of the Georgian BSEC Chairmanship-in-Office for the first semester of 2026. I would like to invite to the floor Ms. Anna Gabitasvili. Correct me with the pronunciations. Even my surname is difficult. It's Nikoltsiou. So if I pronounce something wrong, correct me. Ms. Anna Gabitasvili, Counselor of Regional International Organization at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Georgia, who will present a brief statement on behalf of the chairmanship. Please, Mrs. Anna, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Maria. Your Excellencies, Secretary General, Ambassador Komanescu, Director General, Mr. Mitrakos, ladies and gentlemen, it is a distinct honor and a great pleasure to welcome you all to today's webinar dedicated to the pivotal role of women in diplomacy across the Black Sea region. First and foremost, on behalf of the Georgian BSEC Chairmanship-in-Office, I would like to express our sincere gratitude to the BSEC PERMIS and ICBSS for organizing this timely event. We are gathered here today to celebrate International Women's Day, but also to engage in a candid reflection in the path that lies ahead. As Georgia holds the chairmanship of BSEC, we believe it is essential to provide a platform for senior women diplomats and practitioners to share their experiences and policy perspectives. Evidence and practice have shown that women bring diverse perspectives to the table. They enhance consensus-building processes and contribute to more sustainable and inclusive outcomes in the peace-building and conflict prevention. By integrating gender perspectives into our regional vision, we shape a more resilient and forward-looking Black Sea region. Dear colleagues, across the BSEC, women's participation in decision-making mechanisms remain lower than desired. Although strong legal frameworks have been established to promote equality in the workplace, challenges persist in translating these commitments into balanced representation at the highest levels of governance. Available data indicates that women continue to be underrepresented in senior executive roles and are less visible in key stages of strategic decision-making. This suggests that further efforts are needed to foster a more inclusive and representative environment where women's perspectives are consistently reflected at every level of leadership. Excellencies, in the Black Sea region, this gap is not just a social issue, it's a strategic one. Our region is currently defined by complex geopolitical shifts and ongoing instability. We must recognize that the weight of these conflicts often falls most heavily on women, who face the harshest consequences on displacement and insecurity. Yet they are often the ones least represented when the time comes to discuss solutions. It is within this context that the Georgian BSEC Chairmanship-in-Office is prioritizing this dialogue. We believe that a more secure and stable Black Sea is a cornerstone of European prosperity. However, true security cannot be built without the unique perspectives and mediation skills that women bring to the table. Our vision for the region is built on the idea of connectivity, and this includes connecting women leaders to the very center of regional policy and diplomacy. Our collective goal must be ensure that the Black Sea remains a sea that connects us rather than divides us, and that women are at the forefront of building those bridges. Today's webinar is an opportunity to move from recognition to action. By fostering this dialogue, we are actively advancing the UN Sustainable Development Goals 5 and 16, proving that equality and peace are inseparable. Ladies and gentlemen, as a career diplomat myself, I am proud to see such an impressive lineup of speakers today. I'm grateful for the opportunity to learn from their expertise and remain confident that the insights shared today will further contribute to our collective efforts to transform the Black Sea into a region of peace, stability, and cooperation. In closing, I would like to wish you all a very successful and engaging session. Thank you for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Gabitasvili, and I keep your word. The sea connect us rather than divide us, which is very, very important notion as well. And please accept our best wishes for a successful and impact-oriented chairmanship this semester. Well done. As we are concluding with our high-level session, we have the pleasure to invite to the floor today's keynote speaker, Professor Niloufer Narli. Professor Narli is the founder of the Sociology Department in Bahçeşehir University and has been an active advocate for gender issues and women's rights for more than 25 years. So, Professor Narli, the floor is yours. We look forward to your valuable insights. Please.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Good morning, Excellencies, distinguished guests, colleagues, and friends. Let me share my presentation. And so I hope everybody can see the presentation. Yes? All right.
Yes, it's fine.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And, it is both honor and privilege to join you for this very important webinar, Women Diplomats at the Forefront, Promoting Dialogue and Development. I will speak on women's leadership in diplomacy and multilateral cooperation. And in fact, I like to emphasize that we are at a really transformative moment. We gather at a time of profound global uncertainty, from armed conflicts and climate change to economic instability and humanitarian crisis. So in this context, the multilateral system is being tested in unprecedented ways. But despite all these challenges, one transformative force continues to fortify diplomacy worldwide. This is women's leadership. Women are no longer peripheral actors in diplomacy. They are negotiators, ambassadors, foreign ministers, peace builders, and heads of international organizations. And the former distinguished speakers mentioned this, and we have the examples today. And women's leadership today isn't symbolic. It is substantive, strategic, and solution-driven. I try to move okay. So Black Sea Cooperation Organization, one region where these dynamics are visible is the Black Sea Economic Cooperation area. I briefly focus on the Black Sea Economic Cooperation region. In fact, the ambassador also mentioned the importance of this region. This is a strategic space connecting Europe, the Caucasus, Asia, where women leaders are increasingly shaping regional dialogues and economic development. And so when we look at this region, women hold roughly 25 to 35% of the parliamentary seats across BSEC member states. Representation of women in diplomatic services has steadily increased across the region over the last decade. Several BSEC countries have appointed women as foreign ministers, ambassadors, senior international negotiators. Regional and international organizations increasingly promote gender equality in diplomacy, governance, and development. Women leaders are playing roles in peace building, economic cooperation, and regional development initiatives. And the former speakers also mentioned about the importance of CDG 5. So when we look at, what's happening in the BSEC region, regional cooperation within BSEC supports inclusive economic growth and equal opportunities. And we see that women-responsive leadership contributes to better outcomes in education, healthcare, and economic resilience. Integrating gender perspective into BSEC initiative advances multiple CDGs across the region. And so while Black Sea Economic Cooperation region offers compelling examples, these dynamics are part of a broader transformation in global diplomacy. Across multilateral institutions such as United Nations, the European Union, and the African Union, women have shaped critical global agendas from sustainable development to human rights and peace processes. One of the most significant milestones in multilateral diplomacy and in promoting gender equality was the adoption of UN Security Council Resolution 1325. It was adopted in 2000, and this landmark resolution recognized for the first time the indispensable role of women in peace and security. It affirmed that sustainable peace is not possible without women's full, equal, and meaningful participation. And the research data shows that peace agreements are more durable and inclusive when women are involved in negotiations. Also, former speakers mentioned this and gave examples. Women leaders are often bringing collaborative approaches. They bridge divides, they give priority to long-term social stability. This means education, health, community resilience are as important as political settlement. And so leadership that promotes dialogue, female leadership. And then we are with diplomats. As you know, diplomacy is about dialogue. It is about listening across differences and finding common ground. Women diplomats have demonstrated exceptional skills in consensus building, mediation, and trust building. Trust is very important. Their leadership style often emphasizes inclusivity, empathy, and coalition building. Former speakers also mentioned these points. So these qualities are indispensable in multilateral forums where decisions depend on cooperation among diverse actors. In climate negotiations, humanitarian coordination, and development financing, women leaders have championed across regional alliances, ensuring that small states, developing countries, marginalized communities have a seat at the table. This is very important. So dialogue led by women isn't only about representation, it is about expanding the scope of what diplomacy can achieve. Women definitely add new dimensions. And so women, they are very successful in diplomacy, but also they are driving development agendas. Women leadership in diplomacy is also deeply linked to development outcomes. The implementation of 2030 Agenda and achieving 17 Sustainable Development Goals highlighted that gender equality is not just one goal, it is a catalyst for all other goals, achieving for all other goals. And women diplomats, they promote gender-responsive budgeting, economic empowerment, and climate justice. So by integrating gender perspectives into trade agreements, climate frameworks, and development partnerships, women leaders ensure that multilateral cooperation delivers tangible benefits for the communities. There are some challenges. Also, former speakers mentioned very briefly underrepresentation of women in senior diplomatic roles. So what should be done? In fact, today we are celebrating women's achievement, but also we have to talk about the roadmap. And then so institutional reforms are needed, mentorship, scholarship networks, gender parity commitments, safe and inclusive work environments. Women leaders, in any field, they face cyber violence. So this is an important issue. This is why creating safe and inclusive work environments is very important. Multilateral institutions must not only endorse equality, but embody it. And so what are the key messages for today? And inclusive diplomacy produces stronger outcomes, especially at a time of turmoil. Now our world is in a turmoil. Then I emphasize regional cooperation, the importance of regional cooperation. Organizations such as Black Sea Economic Cooperation create platforms where women leaders can shape dialogue and development. Gender equality fortifies multilateralism. Advancing women's leadership supports sustainable development goals, particularly CDG 5. The future of diplomacy must be inclusive. Investing in young diplomats is very important. And then, in conclusion, I should mention that women leadership in diplomacy isn't about replacing one voice with another. It is more than that. It is about enriching global governance with full diversity of human experience. When women lead, dialogue deepens. When women participate, agreements endure. Women shape policy. When women shape policy, development becomes more equitable and sustainable. So let us therefore reaffirm our commitment to a multilateral system where women are not only present, but they are powerful, protected, and purposeful. And then I like to, mention a call to action, promoting parity in diplomatic appointment, investing in young diplomats, improving global networks of women leaders, ensuring gender perspective, integration of gender perspective across multilateral negotiations from security to trade to climate. And the last word, when women lead, diplomacy becomes more inclusive, cooperation becomes stronger, and our shared future becomes more sustainable. Women's leadership in diplomacy isn't only about representation. It is about solidarity, mentorship, and opening doors for the next generation of leaders. I thank you very much for giving me the floor. And again, I'd like to thank the Madam Chair and the organization and those who made contribution to this event. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Professor, for your insightful presentation and this also call of action, which is very important. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Dear participants, I'm happy now to launch the deliberation of the first panel of women diplomats advancing dialogue and peace in the Black Sea region, We have with us today 4 distinguished panelists, senior diplomats from the BSEC member states in alphabetical order: Armenia, Azerbaijan, Republic of Moldova, Russian Federation, and Serbia, who will share with us their experience from their involvement in confidence building and multilateral diplomacy processes over the years. They have a great experience, all of them. Before starting with our panelists, I would like to remind you, dear participants, to use the Q&A button in the Zoom to write their question for the panelists. Our esteemed panelists will have the opportunity to reply in the Q&A session following the panel discussion. Let's try to keep the time framework. I would like to start with our first round of questions. Please make sure that every answer will not is more than 5 minutes, let's say up to 5 minutes each. And the first question is to Her Excellency Ambassador Sanja Milinkovic from Serbia. And I would like to ask you what structural changes in Serbia's Ministry of Foreign Affairs have most efficiently supported women's advancement to senior roles. Your Excellency, the floor is yours for the next 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Maria. I hope you hear me well. I also like to welcome all the participants, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. Having in mind that I'm career diplomat and have almost 40 years of experience, for the beginning, I will try to compare the beginning of my diplomatic career. At that time, our generation of young diplomats, when we were admitted, at that moment, there were 30 of us who were admitted to the ministry. Out of those 30, there was only 5 women. Now, comparing to nowadays, we have a new generation admitted 2 years ago, and it's almost half and half men and women in the new generation of diplomats. I will also like to give you some, let's say, statistical data, having in mind that previous speakers mentioned also parliamentarian situation. Speaking about changing structural changes, there is no that much legal basis except the one which is very important and relates to parliamentarians. Namely, during the election, political parties need to put on their list at least 1/3 female proposals, and that's how practically we came to the level of 34% of ladies in Serbian parliament. The main position in the parliament, the president of the parliament, there is also a lady, which is very important. When it comes, so this regulation, which is I think old about 20 years, of course promoted the involvement of women in the politics. So as a result, it also raises the number of women in our government, which is almost 40%. Namely, we have now 9 ministers. One of them, the Minister for Economy, is also Deputy Prime Minister. What I would like to stress on this occasion is that these 9 ministers, lady ministers, are exactly in the areas which are very important for BSEC coordination, and some of them are ministry, having in mind that those line ministries are also involved in the work of BSEC mostly through working groups, but also helping foreign ministry in our work in the BSEC. They are important for the mutual cooperation among member states. So I will just name a few of them. So it is the Minister of Economy, Minister of Domestic and Foreign Trade, Minister for Transport, for Environment, and also we have Minister without portfolio. She is dealing with the issues of gender equality, and also very important thing, it's economic and political empowerment of women. Generally, our governments in the past 10 years are pretty much concentrated on economic empowerment of women, and the funding for this goal is raising in our budget. At the moment, 3 of mentioned ministers are now in New York at a very important event on the high level, which is, as you, Maria, mentioned, the Commission of the Status of Women. And they are going to present all the important issues and efforts, what Serbia is doing in this area. When I entered the ministry, there was only about 25, 30 women diplomats. The rest and most women in the ministry were administrative staff. Now it's also almost equal numbers of female diplomats and male diplomats.
Your Excellency, try to conclude. We have up to 5 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, in concluding, things are going in an excellent direction. I'm grateful that this issue was put on the agenda of BSEC. I would like to thank ICBSS for organizing this meeting, Secretariat, and also Georgian chairmanship. And if I may stress that there is a brilliant Georgian important member of the Secretariat. It is a legal advisor, which was very helpful for all of us, particularly us who were dealing with the chairmanship. Just one thing to stress: during the period 2022 till 24, which is a very sensible period, mostly the ladies were at the position of senior officials of the chairmanships. So I hope that, including Serbia, so I hope that we very much help to promote and promote the dialogue in our organization. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency, and I keep your, let's say, positive note as far as the results are concerned. And let me carry on now to Mrs. Irina Nosova from Russian Federation. And the question is, how does a gender-inclusive approach enhance resilience and sustainability in regional economic projects? Please, Mrs. Nosova, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good morning to everybody. It is a real privilege and valuable opportunity to exchange views today. And let me address today's topic from the economic perspective. Saying this, I would like to point out that my country has been consistently vocal on issues of women leadership. And the long-term view is that goals of gender equality and stable economic development are closely intertwined. Well, we have seen many positive developments in Russia in this regard, with the 77% of women of working age being economically active, leading ranks in global gender gap index in terms of equal access to health and healthcare and education, increased share of female CEOs. Still, many challenges remain and new ones emerge. Today, these challenges include wage gap of 28%, lower positions for women in high-paying sectors, low share in STEM. With this in mind, recently the focus has been placed on the pivotal challenge for women of striking the balance between career and family ambitions. This issue has been put to the forefront of the legislature's efforts. And the National Strategy of Action for Women, adopted in 2023 in Russia, aims high to empower women through both broadening equal economic opportunities and widening social safety nets. Well, as a working mother myself, I follow its implementation very closely and hope practical measures will bring tangible results. Because efforts to boost equality do strengthen a resilient economy. Empowerment of women significantly expands skilled workforce. Women tend to lead, it is known as a known fact, in social entrepreneurship. It's about 90%, up to 90% in Russia, the case. Education and healthcare, creative industries, thus they play a huge role in improving human capital quality. In the context of digital era, the stakes are even higher, as digital divide and gender biases are perpetuated in data and algorithms, and this problem must be addressed. Well, we're trying to speak about these challenges domestically as well as on regional and global platforms. A lot has been done, for example, in the G20, the group of 20 leading economies, where, by the way, Russia has been historically represented by women, two Sherpas, Ksenia Yudaeva and Svetlana Lukash. Recently, G20 sent strong messages on gender equality and set important numeric goals for tackling pay, education, and other gaps. These actions are to be translated into practical measures at national levels. Women leadership was also the focus of the 4th Eurasian Women Forum, which attracted participants of 126 countries. 5th forum will be held next year. Particular attention to women empowerment is paid in the APEC forum, which is short for Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation. At this platform, we hold an annual competition for women entrepreneurs. It is called APEC Best Award. Over the years, this event has become a solid platform for knowledge exchange, promoting business cases, networking. In fact, we believe such an initiative is worth considering in the Black Sea region. Organizing a competition of this kind by BSEC would serve as a powerful source for new business ideas and meaningful connections. Therefore, it would contribute to regional cooperation and resilience. I hope we will have an opportunity to discuss this idea on within BSEC today, whenever the case will be. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Nosova from Russian Federation. And let me carry on now with Mrs. Svetlana Andres. You are in Women, Moldova. And the question is, based on your experience from UN Women, how does the UN Sustainable Development Goal 16 intersect with women's diplomatic work amid Black Sea geopolitical volatility? The floor is yours for the next 5 minutes.
Thank you, dear Maria, for the question. Distinguished guests and participants, Your Excellencies. Indeed, SDG 16 focuses on peace, justice, and strong institutions, and is closely connected to the role of women diplomats as well. Women's leadership in diplomacy contributes to more decision-making, to more inclusive decision-making, stronger institutions, and more sustainable peace, which are the core objectives of the SDG 16. Globally, however, as just mentioned by Professor Niloufer Narli, women remain underrepresented in diplomacy. Today, women make roughly 1/3 of women ambassadors worldwide, and in many peace processes, their representation is low. From the perspective of Moldova, strengthening women's leadership in governance, diplomacy, and security is increasingly recognized as a strategic investment in stability and democratic development. Also, I need to mention that Moldova has made encouraging progress in recent years. Today, we have 40% representation of women in parliament, one of the highest shares in the region. Also, Moldova ranking 7th in the Gender Global Gap report by World Economic Forum. And at the policy level, the government adopted the key strategic frameworks, including the National Program for Acceleration of Gender Equality, with indicators on parity in diplomacy, and National Action Plan on 1325 Agenda, Women, Peace and Security. These policy instruments help integrate gender perspective across governance, security, institutions, and development through gender-sensitive policy making and budgets. I also have to mention that through the support of UN Women and Partnership, these are also translated into concrete institutional platforms, and I would mention the Women's Advisory Board under Women, Peace and Security Agenda, which provides a bridge between civil society, academia, national institutions, and ensure women's participation and expertise contribute to resilience and discussions and security. Another important platform at the legislative level is the Women's Platform in the Parliament. We have also active women's associations in defense and security, police association, but at the same time, continued efforts are needed to strengthen gender parity within diplomatic service and foreign policy institutions, including within Moldovan's MFA, as women remain still underrepresented at the level of decision-making. I have to mention a very great example when in 2021, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Moldova, with the support of UN Women, conducted a gender audit. And following these recommendations and of this assessment, a gender action plan was developed and a gender coordination group was established to institutionalize these efforts. A recent important development was that Moldova hosted the Women for Security conference, bringing together high-level women leaders, diplomats, including the European Commissioner Marta Kos, to discuss the role of women's leadership in security and regional cooperation. Moreover, at the regional level, UN Women also supports regional exchanges of civil society dialogues across Eastern Partnership. Of course, today the discussion is not only in the context of International Women's Day, where the global reflections this year emphasize the importance of advancing gender equality and justice as a foundation for resilience, but also the discussions at the Commission on the Status of Women currently taking place in New York. Once again, thank you very much for this important discussion organized by the BSEC and for this opportunity to speak about a strategic asset for stability, cooperation, and sustainable peace, women's wider participation and leadership, including through achieving the SDG 16. Thank you very much, dear Maria and colleagues.
Thank you, Ms. Adris. Let me carry on with Ms. Karim Sudzayan from Armenia. And the question is, what challenges exist in translating international gender equality commitments into local diplomatic practice? How difficult is this? Karim, the floor is yours, please. You have to unmute.
Good morning.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the question. Dear colleagues, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I would like to express my gratitude for organizing this very important webinar on women in diplomacy, which I am confident will foster dialogue and enhance cooperation in the Black Sea region. And taking the opportunity, I would like also to extend my congratulations on the International Women's Day. Coming to the question, I think that it will be better to address, maybe to start with reaffirming our commitments to the most important international instruments in the field of women human rights, including the International Convention on Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, Beijing Declaration Platform of Action, SDGs, UN Security Council Resolution 3025, etc. So why I am saying this? Because the effective implementation of all these documents is one of the priorities within Armenia's human rights agenda. So in this regard, the important question concerns the methodologies that should be applied and steps that need to be implemented to enhance productivity and effectiveness. For many years, Armenia has been followed practice of elaboration and implementation of national action plans in the field of human rights, on gender equality, on anti-trafficking, on women, peace and security. And these national action plans help us clearly define the goals, outline the methods for achieving them, and estimate financial resources and address other relevant factors. But speaking about challenges, I want to say that unfortunately, one of the challenges in the scarcity of financial resources, because at times when well-designed plans and programs require greater resources, then country is able to allocate. Then another important issue is the policy coordination. Effective policy coordination is very, very, very important. And here the MFA is really plays a central role because seamlessly engaged in different actors, including the non-governmental organizations, civil society, NGOs, the international organizations, ministries, agencies, etc. So the coordination is very important, and one of such notable example of cooperation is development of Armenia's third national action plan on women, peace and security, during which numerous NGOs collaborated closely with government institutions throughout the process. And as a living document, this plan's response to recent regional developments, as well as prioritizing the peace and stability in the region. How we are working to strengthen the cooperation with international organizations, to strengthen the implementation and monitoring with the international commitments. I want to inform you that recently Armenia launched its national mechanism on implementation reporting and follow-up, together with its digital tool. And this national mechanism is a centralized platform consolidating all international commitments undertaken by country and making them traceable, and you can see you can see the status of implementation of this recommendation. So all these factors are very important, but I want to underline that at the core of all these efforts is the political will, and the success can be realized when our efforts are grounded in a strong and systemic approach. I want just to bring some figures relating to Armenia. Between 2020 and 2025, Armenia climbed from 98th to 59th position in the Global Gender Gap Index, while its ranking on political empowerment jumped dramatically from 114th to 48th place. Of course, it doesn't mean that we achieved all our goals, so we should continue our work and to continue to strengthen the participation, the role of women in diplomacy and in multilateralism in particular. I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your speech, for your remarks. And let me carry on and conclude this first round with Azerbaijan. Let me give the floor to Ms. Zala Ibrahimova. Zala, the question is, how can regional organization leverage women's expertise in technical departments to influence high-level political dialogue? Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Excellencies, distinguished panelists, and dear participants, it's also my honor and pleasure to address this gathering, which discusses a very important issue, the women's role in strengthening the BSEC and increasing their representation in senior diplomatic roles. Mr. Mitrakos has referred to the first report of International Center for Black Sea Studies on gender equality in decision-making and employment in the wider Black Sea region, which reveals that despite some improvements in all our member states, gender inequalities continue to exist. Women have limited representation in decision-making and leadership positions, and big gender pay gap is observed. This indeed affirms the necessity to have an open dialogue on how our countries should double their efforts at national and regional level for achieving SDG 5 on gender equality. I will try to answer to these specific questions on leveraging women's expertise in technical departments first, and then if time allows, I can also briefly share a national perspective from Azerbaijan. At the outset, Ambassador Comanescu provided some good statistics about the current state of play with women representation in BSEC. And I think that BSEC can further leverage women's technical expertise to influence high-level political dialogue, especially in the fields such as environmental science, energy, economics, in order to bridge the gap between specialized knowledge and high-level political decision-making. First, we can ensure the evidence-based policy integration. We can have women experts and technical staff to collect and analyze sex disaggregated data and perform gender-responsive budgeting and policy analysis in order to ensure a data-driven influence on regional policy documents so that these documents can address specific regional realities in our countries. Second, we can follow a technical to political strategic pathway by embedding technical gender experts into the working groups responsible for drafting regional strategies and appoint women from technical departments to lead such specialized group. This may help both to ensure adoption of gender-informed policy documents and transition of women to broader senior diplomatic role. We can also establish and support specialized women expert networks in technical fields like mediation, conflict prevention, technical innovation, economic empowerment. These networks can map the areas of expertise and provide advice to high-level negotiators during the diplomatic processes. And lastly, we can ensure the institutional accountability and visibility by implementing explicit policies and target women's participation in technical cooperation programs, ensuring their presence in the primary implementation phase of regional project, and also use high-level events like webinars like today to showcase the technical successes, thereby kind of legitimizing the expertise of women in the eyes of male-dominated political leadership. To summarize what I've said, we can kind of sort of create an expert to diplomat pipeline where we can institutionalize knowledge, create a database of women experts, specialized in maritime security, for example, or environmental resilience. Mandate technical advices from such technical experts to the policymakers. We can increase the capacity of technical female officers and increase their visibility in the organizations. And we also can formally integrate them by putting specific technical thresholds and providing a gender-responsive monitoring of the strategies, policies, and regional projects. We can look some case studies from different regional organizations. For example, in ASEAN, they have a Women for Peace Registry, which has been established in 2018, and it serves a formal pool of women experts specializing in peace processes and conflict resolution. Or in African Union, the FemWise Africa, this is a network of African women in conflict prevention and mediation, which has also successful experience in institutionalizing the women's role in African Union's peace and security architecture. We can provide an example from OSCE. They have the Women in Security Sector mechanisms, which provide a specialized technical training for women in border management, policing, and intelligence. We can provide some other experience from other international organizations, but most important is to look to this process in a from a strategic perspective, in order to achieve more successful women representation and preparing the women from their technical roles towards the representation in the senior diplomatic roles. I'm sorry, I couldn't follow the time. I don't know if I have time to speak on national perspective, or I can come to that issue later, maybe in the next round of questions, as you would suggest.
Mm-hmm. I think we have a short next round in the form of 3 key takeaways, so you can carry on there. Thank you.
Okay, yes, thank you very much indeed. Very briefly, speaking on the Azerbaijan's national perspective, Azerbaijan has a robust legal and institutional framework to promote gender equality and women's empowerment. Our constitution provides for gender equality. We have a law adopted 2 years ago on gender equality. We have a law on prevention of domestic violence. We are party to international instruments, including the CEDAW. We have a specialized state committee on family, women, and children affairs established 20 years ago, which regulates the state policy on women's rights. And apart from that, we have structured programs and national strategy documents to address specific gender-related challenges. We had the National Action Plan to combat domestic violence. We had a National Action Plan created on the basis of UN Security Council resolution on women's peace and security, which focuses on 4 important pillars. We have recently adopted a National Gender Equality Action Plan 2006 and 2026 and 2028, which will serve as a primary strategic roadmap to ensure equal rights and opportunities for women and men across Azerbaijan over the next 3 years. We have a social economic development strategy which aims to bolster competitive human capital by harnessing the potential of women into labor market. So to say that, but I'm again coming to Mr. Mitrako's point that many of our countries, as I listen to the panelists, have a solid institutional and legal framework, but the problems exist still mostly, I believe, with the existing stereotypes in our countries. In some countries, the prejudice about the women's role in political participation, and in some other countries, the violence.
Please try to conclude. We exceeded the time.
Therefore, our governments do their national jobs, but this type of events and the regional cooperation, including within the BSEC, would be important for our national authorities to increase female representation on political and diplomatic sphere. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Zala, Mrs. Ibrahimova from Azerbaijan, for your insightful remarks. Let's see, we have 15, 16 minutes left at our timetable. So each panelist, from your perspective and professional experience over the years, what would be 3 key takeaways you would highlight for the next generation of women starting their professional careers? Please, up to 2 minutes each. And let me start with Her Excellency Ambassador Milinkovic. Ambassador, Your Excellency.
Thank you. Well, 3 main keys, as already mentioned by some colleagues, and Ambassador Comanescu himself, involvement of women in advancing the dialogue and peacekeeping is maybe the most important key point. So we need more women in these formats. And it was very interesting for me to hear from Zala about this ASEAN format. I didn't know about it. The second is economic and empowerment, particularly female entrepreneurs. And the third one, I consulted my younger female colleagues, which entered ministry 2 years ago. They are speaking mostly as a first sight experience about the importance of balancing between profession and family. And Irina mentioned also something about it. They believe they need to find a partner who is ready to follow them professionally, to take care about kids also, and to know to cook. Well, those are 3 messages from our side. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. And let me carry on with Irina Nosova from Russian Federation. Your 3 key takeaways.
Thank you very much. Well, stemming from today's very fruitful and actually very insightful discussion, I would say that the message might be first, be ambitious and professional, use a wide number of instruments for networking, connecting with other women. Many of them were listed by our distinguished panelists. There are many ideas, and it's very important to follow them and give your own insights. And actually, I would also say that one should really be inspired by previous generations of women that had already prepared a solid foundation for the newcomers. For example, an important encouragement for Russian women diplomats is that this year, for probably the first time, we have in the foreign ministry 4 women as directors of department and more deputy directors, deputy chiefs of mission, deputy permanent representatives, principal negotiators than ever. I'm sure progress of this kind can be registered in many other countries and across many industries. So new milestones will surely follow. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Svetlana, Mrs. Andres, your thoughts, your remarks, your...
I would also back up my previous speakers and to mention that financial economic independence is key for women to take hold and to lead into their professional and personal lives, for full participation into economic and social lives. I would also mention that very important are the mentorship programs, role models, and networking events to which women, young professionals, young women diplomats should be exposed so that they exchange with their peers, with their colleagues. And third, we at UN Women, we believe a lot in temporary special measures, otherwise said the quotas, as they do bring the results, and they brought results in Nordic countries, and once parity is achieved, of course, they can be removed. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Karin, Mrs. Sujayan. I have to learn better to pronounce your name. Till the end of the webinar, I'll be better, I hope. So, your thoughts. Sujayan.
Yes, absolutely. Right. Thank you. Thank you very much. I want to say that despite the challenges women diplomats have faced, they should never give up. They must continue to break barriers and play key roles in the development of international human rights standards and strengthen the women's rights. I would like also to emphasize the importance of women's participation in peace processes and peace building in particular, and the 1325 is very good framework for this. I want also to say that the role of families is very important for supporting us. Yes. And really, I want to thank my family for the support during all my career. So
raise hands if you have support from your families, my lady. My ladies, I think it's very important to have support from families and friends. Carry on, please. Have you finished?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And let's conclude this round with Mrs. Zala Ibrahimova from Azerbaijan. Your thoughts?
Thank you very much indeed. I think it's more or less the same. I think with all for all women diplomats, it's first of all the self-promotion, to educate ourselves well, to build our capacities. Learning is a lifetime exercise, so continue all the time learning, but also promote ourselves, increase our visibility. Knowing something is one thing, and showing that you know these things is another thing. And also, as colleagues mentioned, the network, building networks, the women networks, networks within different regional or international organizations. And also pay attention to strategic career developments, trying to hit the right balance between the job, between your position and family obligations. Try to integrate emotional intelligence into the work you're doing. And also, I think the women diplomats has the responsibility to mentor next generations on women's rights and women's empowerment. I think we still have a long way to go, and this mentorship would be needed for our future young diplomats as well. Thank you.
Yes, I totally agree with all of you. And never forget that we are also women. Not forget to be feminine, keep our femininity. We don't have to look aggressive or in order, to be accepted by men, but this is another discussion. We have now, let's carry on with our Q&A by the audience. We have actually 8 minutes at our disposal till 11:30, which is the official timetable. Okay, let me, we have two questions from the audience. I could summarize the questions and make one question, and each of you have 1 or 2 minutes to answer, of course, if she wants to answer. Let me check. I have them in my mobile in order to be able upon. Hold on, please. We are here. Okay. The first question is how could women politicians at local and regional levels contribute to women's diplomat work on advancing dialogue and peace in the Black Sea region? And to add one more question, a very important question, how do you see the role of women diplomats in countering hybrid threats and disinformation in Black Sea region? You can take the floor. Who wants to answer, please? Can you raise your hands? Should I give the floor, Your Excellency? Ambassador, would you like to have an answer?
Thank you. Well, with regard to the first question, I almost replied in my
Yes, of course.
how much
replied, yes.
Female ministers are involved, numerous female ambassadors. It's in the missions. When it comes to second point, yes, I believe it is with all these social networks today, it is a very important issue, but I'm not sure that it is an issue that primarily supposed to deal diplomats. Of course, many diplomatic missions in the world now and from many countries have their own social networks like X platform or I don't know. Sorry, I'm too old. I'm not that much familiar with social networks. And I'm rather following the classical media, and that would be my advice, not to rely that much on social networks because there are many disinformations there. It's better to go to classical media. Thank you. And to read numerous newspapers or not just one or two, but from different countries. So in order to get its own opinion, what is really true.
Yes, I think having a wider information and many different sources of information, it's always an answer against misinformation. Thank you, Ambassador Milinkovic. Who else, please?
May I?
Yes. Mrs. Nosova from Russia.
Yes, thank you. Well, I would actually try to answer both questions, not from the gender perspective, but from the general perspective, because, well, this is the point we promote in many international formats, that most questions are to be dealt as a whole. For example, for the first questions on women politicians, I would say that diplomats in their work often lack feedback from local, regional levels, that information that they could promote internationally. And very often this information about local and regional initiatives is very important and would acquire positive feedback from foreign partners. Therefore, as diplomats in our ministry, we always invite our local governments, regional authorities to speak with us, set different opportunities for that, including forums forums and conferences within the ministry. And we would hope that the situation is the same in other BSEC countries, and this flow of information is very active and robust. As for the second question, again, this is the issue that is dealt by different ministries and agencies. As a foreign minister, we are always active in seeing disinformation and giving our opinion on that. Actually, many of diplomats that are that cover information politics are women, and this track or in the foreign ministry activities is one of major ones. We can always find fresh information on the website, on social networks, and well, we hope it helps to the general audience. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And let me add one more question by Fanny, and try to conclude, since we have only 1 minute at our disposal. What is one challenge in the Black Sea region that deserves more diplomatic attention, but it's overlooked? And also she asks for the skills for the future diplomats. I think, Fanny, this has been already answered with the 3 key takeaways. One last answer, and we have to carry on with our poll, please. Mr. Mitrakos, you can also answer if you want. George.
Yes, I don't see many men here, so
That's right. To hear a
most
man's
of this
voice also
discussion needs
before.
to include more men, I think. I want to reiterate the point about education and how important it is for women. I want to share an anecdote story from my family. My grandmother had a master's degree in history from Sorbonne in France. So in
One of the few, I think one of the few in Greece at that time.
So when she returned in 1956 in Greece, my great-grandmother said to her, okay, now you have your master's degree, I'm glad, but you don't know how to cook, and you cannot do chemical analysis, and nobody will marry you if you don't know how to cook. To which my grandmother replied, I may not know how to cook, but I know how to read. And she opened the recipe book and started cooking just from following the instructions. So I want to reiterate how education is so important for this.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Mitrakos. Now let me give the floor to the organizers in order to have our poll. Mrs. Hadzi, who's gonna deal with this, with the poll? Great. Do you want to take the floor also to describe the poll? Or should I do it?
It's self-explanatory. People should answer to the questions they are seeing. It will remain online for a few minutes before we go to the second panel.
Okay, so we answer to this question. We remain online. We see the results now or after?
Yes.
Okay, so please feel free to read the poll and reply. Take part if you want. as I see hosts and panelists cannot vote, I was ready to, to vote.
You can, if you get the QR code, it will open you the...
It's okay. It's for our great participants. Please take the lead and reply to this poll. Your thoughts are very important in order to be made better and better. I think we're almost done. We can see now the results of the poll. Let me move the cursor. Should I read the answers, or you can see the answers to the first question? In your view, what is the most significant added value women bring to multilateral peace negotiation? 31% equal answer, alternative approaches to conflict resolution and mediation, and building long-term sustainability for peace agreements. And also, which factor do you believe constitutes the greatest barrier to women's participation in confidence-building efforts today? I think, it's a very important common answer: systematic institutional biases and glass ceilings. This glass ceiling is always there. On a scale of 1 to 5, how effectively do you believe current regional frameworks in the Black Sea utilize women's leadership for conflict prevention? The B answer, and also the third answer, 42%. And also, which area should be the top priority for regional diplomacy to ensure more inclusive peace building, integrating gender perspectives into all regional security policies? Thank you very much, dear participants, for your answer. And this outcome is very important for enhancing further the dialogue. So concluding the first panel deliberations, now I give the floor, the moderator of the next panel, the second panel, Miss Anna Kristinovska. You can, Anna, take the lead, please. You have till how much time? 40 minutes at your disposal in order to organize your panel. Please, you take the lead. The floor is yours and your panelists.
Thank you so much, Ms. Nicole. I hope that you can all hear me well.
Yes. Yeah.
Great. Greetings from gloomy Skopje, to the point that we have to have the lights on to be able to see each other. My name is Anna Kristinovska, and I run EHIMA. It is a foreign policy think tank based in North Macedonia, one of the strongest advocates for gender mainstreaming in the areas of diplomacy, politics, decision-making. So we have for years been the voice from the non-profit and the non-governmental sector that has encouraged our subsequent governments to engage more in gender-responsive foreign policies. And in that context, it is truly a pleasure for me to be taking on the moderating role, and many thanks to the organizers for the opportunity. Picking up on some of the remarks made by the speakers in the introduction and the research that Ambassador Mitrakos shared with us, let me share a few reflections or maybe dilemmas and rhetorical questions. Yesterday, it was the 8th of March, and our panelists raised the question whether it is a celebration or maybe an occasion for reflection on where we are today. So arguably, we have come a long way, but it is maybe an even longer way to go to truly achieve gender equality. And I was very happy to see the response and the 62% of respondents who still feel the invisible or glass ceiling, which clearly illustrates where we are now. So maybe the more visible barriers have been dismantled, but there are still the biases, sometimes at the institutional and structural level, that persist. And in that context, we are going to dive further deeper into the practical level. And we have, for that purpose, 3 outstanding women coming from 3 different sectors: politics, diplomacy, and academia, who will share their insights. And we will also be more specific in terms of focusing from the general to the context of the regional cooperation, the role of BSEC for advancing gender equality in the regional cooperation and stability in the broader Black Sea region. I would also encourage you to ask questions as they come to your mind in the chat window, so that our panelists can also address them. In terms of speakers today, we have a stellar lineup, and I will start in the alphabetic order. We have Ms. Roberta Alma Anastase, who is a politician and former president of the Chamber of Deputies of Romania. We have Professor Ela Libanova, who is an IPL expert at the Ptuka Institute for Demography and Social Studies in the National Academy of Sciences of Ukraine. And we have Ms. Tanya Mikhailova, who is the director of the Bulgarian Diplomatic Institute in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Bulgaria. I would like to start with the speaker that I introduced last, so Ms. Mikhailova. Can you tell us what can be done, in your opinion, at the level of training, at the level of diplomatic institutes and academies across the region to empower female diplomats, and what lessons can be exchanged, what coordination can take place between the countries participants in this initiative in order to promote greater gender balance at the ambassadorial? And I would kindly ask you to speak within 7 minutes.
Do you hear me? Okay, very good. So, ladies and few gentlemen in this audience, distinguished colleagues, I would like first of all to thank Ambassador Comanescu and Mr. George Mitrakos, Director General of the International Center for Black Sea Studies, and the team of the center for organizing this event and inviting myself to participate in that. It is really an honor to address to you. I would like to thank you for the very concrete question that you raised, but if you allow me, I'll take this few minutes just to speak about the context in Bulgaria and what we are doing at the Diplomatic Institute, and to respond to your question at the same time. Discussing women's leadership matters because it reminds us that leadership itself has no gender, and gender should never be primarily evaluation factor in professional careers. And of course, in many sectors, including diplomacy, women still encounter subtle biases in recruitment. You already mentioned some of them regarding promotion and the leadership opportunities. And within the Black Sea region, there is some progress, and I'm so satisfied to see the results of this program that you spread to us, and the results and what the situation now is. The member states of the BSEC, BSEC as a platform for regional cooperation, I believe that could play a decisive role in advancing gender equality and inclusive diplomacy. A few words, as I promised, about the historical context, and it is important to mention that because until 1989, diplomacy, because I'm, let's say, prefer to speak for diplomacy, in Bulgaria was an almost entirely, it was a male profession. And women were mainly translators at the diplomatic service or administrative staff. And after democratic changes, the system opened to women. And by 2025, the share in the diplomatic service exceeded 50%. And this is important to say in which directions this is the results. So first of all, the constitution, the Bulgarian constitution guarantees equality before the law and prohibits gender discrimination. There is a Protection Against Discrimination Act. There is an Equality Act for women and men from 2016, 10 years ago. And there is another one document which is important, National Strategy 2021-2030, which promotes equality in labor market participation, pay decision-making, combating violence, and so on. Today, in the diplomatic service, women occupy 50% of the diplomatic service, and 60% of directors general and directors are women, which means that they are on the positions, on the high positions, and they lead today the key directorates like European Union Affairs, Security, NATO, Economic and Public Diplomacy, Regional Cooperation, Economic Diplomacy. And we have in the last years 5 female ministers of foreign affairs, and even the current minister of foreign affairs is a lady, Mrs. Nainsky. And I would say that the career advancement is based on professionalism, qualifications, and experience, and this not restricts opportunities for gender or martial status. About the regional capacity building, I would like to mention that we have an excellent example for that. Maybe later I will say and elaborate more on that. This is the Winter School of Diplomacy that we have been organizing for already 20 years. and which attracts both men and women from the region here. And some of the participants are coming back to their countries and coming back to Bulgaria, even in the positions of ambassadors. Concretely on your question, what would be the practical step? I would say that, first of all, we should invest more systematically in regional training. I'm speaking on behalf of the training institution. Mentoring and networking programs for women in diplomacy. And as I'm aware, there was an excellent example in this direction, training of young diplomats, which was organized by BSEC for a series in years. I can't say how many, but I'm not sure that still exists at the moment. Because the capacity buildings initiatives which brings together professionals from across the region, create not only skills, but diplomacy is profession of building a trust, and it gives an opportunity for professional networks and long-term cooperation channels. In diplomacy, this is crucially important. And when women participate in such programs, it is my direct observation, when they are involved in the regional projects and in some, let's say, more oriented leadership courses, they gain visibility, experience, I would say courage, confidence, which is needed to assume decision-making roles. And such initiatives should focus particularly on economic diplomacy, as far as BSEC is focusing on that, regional connectivity, which is again one of the important portfolios of the organizations, and of course conflict preventions, areas that are central to stability of the Black Sea region. And maybe I will say more on that later if there are any other questions. I believe in the regional, engagement and training platforms can play a key role by encouraging equal participation, as I mentioned, supporting leadership development, and of course to facilitate cross-border cooperation. So I believe in the dialogue, and I believe there will be a chance to invent a new approach regarding the training. So this was my intervention so far. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Ms. Mikhailova, for sharing with us a very commendable case of Bulgaria in terms of reaching gender parity in the foreign service. That may be a bit more difficult of a task in politics or in some other sectors of society. So in that context, I would like to give the floor to Ms. Roberta Anastasa. Drawing on your experience of high-level political service, former president of the Chamber of Deputies, what legislative or institutional measures can BSEC member states adopt to ensure women's participation is not only calculated in terms of numbers, but it is rather meaningful and impactful in various political fora?
Thank you very much, Your Excellencies, dear panelists. First of all, let me thanks to the organizers, BSEC and ICBSS, particularly to Mr. Lazar Comunescu and George Mitrakos for organizing such an important discussion and for bringing together such distinguished voices from across the Black Sea region. From my experience as president of the Chamber of Deputies, I have learned that when we discuss women participation in decision-making, particularly in times of regional instability, we must move beyond a simple question of representation. Of course, representation is very important, but from my point of view is only the first step. What truly matters in whether institutions let women to influence decisions, shape policies, and contribute to the direction of our society. We all receive and see the data from the report on gender equality in the Black Sea region. Data presented in this report demonstrate that legal commitments alone are not sufficient, are not enough. Institutional cultures, social norms, and structural barriers still limit women's participation in real decision-making. And I'm coming back to one important issue, which it was discussed also in the first panel, about education. I think that education must play a central role in advancing gender equality. Laws can create opportunities, but education shapes mindsets. If we want to transform societies in the long term, we must begin in classrooms, where the next generation should learn not only about knowledge, but also about values. Of course, at the institutional level, the real challenge is to ensure that women's, at least from my point of view, to ensure the women's participation translates into real influence. This means increasing women's presence in key decision-making areas such as foreign policy, security, and crisis management, where the most critical decisions of our society are made, actually. It also requires strong implementation of the Women, Peace and Security Agenda, and I'm referring, of course, of UN Security Council Resolution 1325, which is talking about the women, the involvement of the women in peace building and diplomatic process. Finally, we must invest more in leadership pathways for women in diplomacy and public service through mentoring, training, and transparent promotion mechanisms. And here I fully agree with Tanya. Organization like BSEC can play an important role by facilitating cooperation, sharing best practices, and encouraging member states to strengthen gender-sensitive governance. But I would like to stress also another point. We all know that women bring perspectives that are often deeply rooted in community life, social cohesion, and human security. They tend to emphasize dialogue, inclusiveness, and long-term stabilities. I think this is our main advantage. And from this point of view, I think that promoting women and their participation in diplomacy and decision-making should not be seen simply as a matter of fairness or diversity. Actually, it's a strategic investment in peace, stability, and sustainable development. Unfortunately, right now, we have a lot of dramatic situation, a lot of conflict around the world. And we see that in these conflicts, women are not only victims of crisis, but also powerful agents of resilience. They work to protect families, support communities, rebuild trust, and promote reconciliation. In this sense, women leadership contributes not only to better representation, but also to more sustainable and peaceful society. When women participate in shaping policies and institutions, decision-making process became more inclusive, governance become more responsive to the society's needs, and the foundation for lasting peace becomes stronger. And for concluding, I just want to point out an important idea for me. Empowering women in public life, it's not only about equality. It is about building more resilient, more inclusive, and more peaceful societies in our region. Thank you very much. Do you hear me? Do you hear me?
Yes, yes. Anna, Anna,
I was afraid that I lost.
No. And you gave a great speech. Anna, the moderator, can.
My computer just decided.
Are you there? Okay. Carry on, please.
I am here. It was just, luckily, it was just a minute. Apologies for the technical glitch. There was one thing that Ms. Anastasia mentioned that really struck with me. It was education shapes minds. So with this in mind, let me go back to Ms. Mikhailova and ask to which extent diplomatic curricula in Bulgaria and more broadly in the region, in the countries that you are familiar with, acknowledge the specific values that female participation and engagement in diplomacy and in leadership and in politics brings to the forefront. Is there a specific place for, let's say, female solidarity, mentorship, empowerment in these curricula? And is there a role maybe for BSEC and the regional activities to somehow flag or emphasize these aspects in the training of diplomats? I don't know.
Yeah. Thank you very much for the question. Is there any particular, specific, let's say, areas in the curricula for training of diplomats, and maybe in the context of the regional, cooperation? Did I understand correctly?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Not about the contested, but about the soft skills and approaches.
Exactly. So in an era that we use not only soft skills, unfortunately, you see how they, it's difficult. But for sure, in the curricula, first of all, I would like to mention that we have many trainings, and some of them are focused on the newly recruited young people, and usually among the half of them are women. We have also managerial skills in diplomatic service, which means that we try to equip the leaders, those who are chosen to be directors or managers of the diplomatic service, with the skills, or to train their skills. So becoming a director of department, it means that you have already some, achievements and skills in that, but they should be developed. And we have some modules on leadership and negotiations and crisis management. And there is no, I would like to repeat again, it's a merit-based, approach. Of course, we try to give to all of the participants in the trainings the equal opportunities, that's clear. And I would say that women are really good in tackling with different, problems during the daily experience in the diplomatic service. We take, let's say, some time, we give some time to ladies who are going to be an ambassadors, but they have already a huge experience being part of the diplomatic service. But again, what is important to be, developed? First of all, this is the confidence, because ladies, because of the natural, let's say, natural daily, life of the women, there are some other, let's say, obstacles in the working, even in diplomacy. So training, inclusivity, and meritocracy are the principles. And I would say that the different participants are showing different results, but we are trying to encourage the participation of all of the ladies in different trainings. And what is very interesting to mention that I mentioned some of the positions that are taken by ladies in our diplomatic service, but they are excellent in dealing with security issues and, as you mentioned, disinformation and public diplomacy. For all of those things, they should know both how to deal with the skills, soft skills, and in the same time to be equipped with the knowledge on all of the, let's say, weapons when they are involved in directorates as security policy issues. So the range is very huge. And I wouldn't say that, for example, ladies could manage only with the culture or economy in diplomacy domain. They are excellent in everything that we'd like to try. So we give them an opportunity to be equally participating in all of those trainings that we have. And again, I would like to mention and to focus on the regional aspects of training, giving the example of our Winter School of Diplomacy, which gathers young ladies from the Black Sea region and Western Balkans regions. And it's an excellent atmosphere and environment for showing their, let's say, readiness and to be involved in a later stage, because those people that I mentioned are young people, their readiness to be involved in deeper and to develop their professional skills to work for the region and regional cooperation. So in conclusion, I would say that there are some specific approach, but not exactly for the women, just encourage them being part of the society in general. So in diplomacy, in our case, there is no any barriers at the moment. And I would like to encourage all of the women, young ladies, women from the region to develop themselves and to become, as my colleague from Romania said, not just to represent, but to take part in the decision-making process. This is just my intervention. Thank you very much.
That's a very useful call to action, I would say. So I would like to ask one follow-up question to Ms. Anastasia, and then we can open the floor for discussion. I would kindly ask you to either write your questions in the chat window or to use the raise hand function and engage in the discussion. But also the other panelists from the previous session are warmly welcome to join us with their reflections. Ms. Anastasia, we talk a lot about women's solidarity, and the majority of the participants in this webinar are women. We touched upon only briefly on the role of men, and we have statistics that female politicians are more frequently targeted by all forms of attacks, including on social media, than their male counterparts. Can you share with us your experience in terms of your male colleagues? Have they been supportive? How do we raise awareness so that they are even more supportive in future of their female colleagues?
Okay, it's a very tough question. Of course, I had both experience. Of course, I had to confront some stereotypes, as also in our report it is written. Of course, especially in politics, you have to confront it. You have a lot of interaction. We have a lot of people with different level of education and different ways of seeing the world. But this situation didn't discourage me, and we should know that it's not an easy way. But if we want to succeed, we have to go on, you know. On the other part, I have a very good experience with a lot of colleagues who support me. Actually, I am a person who believes that actually which is normal in society should be normal also in the politics. If it's normal in society to be both together, work together, collaborate, men and women, it's the same thing also in politics. And we have to support us and support ideas and fight together for this idea, because changing the legislation, changing also the society through our decision is important and make us all evolve.
Thank you very much. I think we can only wish for more brave and courageous women in politics and diplomacy who are willing to do the right thing and not the easy thing. And with that in mind, let me just mention that Ms. Mimi Kodeli could not join us, and also Professor Livanova, due to power cuts, will not be able to join us for the rest of this session. And I would like to open the floor for any questions you have to our panelists, or any comments you would like to make in the context of our discussion. Do we have any hands raised? Anyone who would like to take the floor? If not, maybe I could.
And also from the previous panelists, like, you can take the floor also. Don't hesitate. It's an open discussion.
Professor Narli, please.
Okay, thank you very much. You know, first of all, again, I like to thank the organizers and all the women and men, male speakers. Really, I feel I am with amazing women. Okay, this is my point. But, you know, in answering the question, in what way women politicians and diplomats can cooperate to promote gender equality, right, and then parity in diplomacy. I think at the state level, some mechanisms can be created for increased interaction between women politicians at the local and national level, women diplomats, and also universities. For example, I am representing university here, and very often I go and teach in the School of Diplomacy, and also we organize some workshops where female politicians, of course also male politicians, diplomats, former diplomats, NGO representatives, and academics can participate and discuss, you know, action plans, or they can come up with ideas for policy recommendations. Thank you very much. This is my point.
Thank you, Professor, for your excellent point. Does anyone else wish to take the floor?
May I respond to our dear colleague? Yeah, okay. So Professor Nali, it's an excellent question that you raised. I would say something that happened last week here in Sofia. I was impressed by the activities of students from 2 universities here in Sofia. They represent their organizations. One of them is the Students' Diplomatic Club in Sofia University. The other is organization of students interested in international relations of another universities. There is another one, young people from the United Nations Alliances of Bulgaria. So there was a very active, let's say, involvement of young people organizing themselves. No one organized them. So this is a very clear message on behalf of the civil society. I'd like to say how important is the role of the civil society. And what I mentioned, those 3 organizations, they organized different discussions, roundtables through the week in the eve of the 8th of March, the Day of Women. And they invited different representatives from both diplomacy and politics in Sofia University, and another place which is very open to young people. I had the pleasure to be one of those invited from one of the organizations, discussing on a very human level about the leadership and women. There was another very popular singer participating. So this was a topic for young people. No one asked them to organize that. They feel that they need to speak about the role of the women in society today, not only in politics, not on the high positions, not in diplomacy, not even in economy. There is another one. Yes, there were a lot of events. All of those events have been organized by the people themselves. They wanted to discuss that. And I find this an excellent, example and in a way achievement. And in a way, even both diplomacy and politics should respond to the expectations of those people to continue to keep discussing the issue. And having in mind that I would repeat it, but there is an excellent environment in Bulgaria for ladies. We have no lack of ladies in positions. And again, the Speaker of the Parliament is a lady, the head of Constitutional Court, and so on. So this is a practice in the recent years, and I'm so grateful for that. But I wanted to back again. The civil society is crucially important to keep the discussions of the role of the women today. This is my approach.
Can I make just a quick,
Yes.
comment? Because NGOs are important in second track diplomacy. So, also bridging second track diplomacy representatives with the first track diplomacy and politicians is very important. I think young people, they understood the importance of these bridges and they organized the activity themselves. It's a great example. Thank you very much.
And also, if I may add, it's an important lesson also for the politician to, as you said very well, it's very important to build these bridges as common behavior, not something that we organize from time to time, but also as a common dialogue, a normal dialogue, a normal behavior for consulting the civil society, the teachers. From me, is very important to see their perspective, because there is a lot of expertise. Of course, our European, as member of European Union, both Bulgaria and Romania experience this type of dialogue, but it's important also to share this experience with all other countries, and to try to support each other, and try to build policies link with what is happening real in communities, and link also with the theoretical approach, because it's important to mix all of these perspectives for making better policies. It's important to see in this way, and I think it is healthy not only for building policies, but also to changing the way of the people are seeing the reality, because otherwise, or in this way, you can keep them informed. Otherwise, we are speaking about manipulation and trying to stop all of these things. And also, it's a form of education.
Thank you so much for acknowledging the role of civil society. Representing civil society myself, I know that we sometimes tend to get diplomats and politicians outside of their comfort zones, but it is in a way our role to continue to push the boundaries, even in very challenging political contexts. So maybe before I hand over the floor to Maria for the concluding remarks, maybe I could just ask you one final takeaway from the discussion. what could governments in our region and what could BSEC do to create a more enabling environment for women to further increase their role in advancing regional stability and cooperation? From whoever wants to respond. If it comes from civil society, then it seems that it's a difficult question, right?
Sorry, can you repeat? Because I cannot hear you very well.
From the
same.
discussion.
Could you repeat the question? Sorry, I didn't catch it as well.
From the discussion that we had, what would be your one takeaway? How governments in the region or BSEC can further contribute to a more enabling environment for women to advance their roles in the context of regional stability and cooperation?
I'm starting with the BSEC. I've already said in my intervention, and I want to say it again. I have a long experience in the Parliamentary Assembly in BSEC, and I appreciate very much this organization. And I think that BSEC has an important role in this region in promoting dialogue and for promoting also, for encouraging the participation of women. It's important to continue exchange dialogue, continue exchange views, and why not making a training session which can contribute for making women and exchange views of them. So this is a very good exercise, but I think that we can develop this type of actions, and from the government point of view, from the politics point of view, I have to say something. We can make steps all the time ahead, but all the time we have to keep in mind that it's not a one-way road. It's a battle that we have to do it each day. And the realities, it's a proof for that. If you look at the figures, you see that when you push, and you are talking a lot about women participation in decision-making process and so on, you see women in some important positions. When this subject is not put in front of the political debate and the social debate, you see the figures, and this participation is going down. So we have to keep in mind that it's not a battle that we are doing today and tomorrow is done. No, we have to fight for this each day, to discuss, to learn people, and to make the girls to trust in themselves, to train all the time, and to don't be afraid.
Yeah. May I?
Please do.
Okay. I would like to suggest and to repeat it again to keep organizing training on behalf of BSEC. And it's important to involve also men, not only women. Discussing the question of women leadership, it needs that the men should be on our side. So we should discuss it together, not only to be a groups of women discussing something only for us. Just imagine what would happen if the men organize a conference being only men discussing the rights of men today. Oh my God, it wouldn't be a bad idea. I wouldn't be a good idea. So I think that women really bring a diverse perspective, and they have a very collaborative skills, and they could contribute to everything. It's impossible to work today, without women's not presence, but also decisions. And I believe in the balance between both representation and taking decisions by, as my colleague Roberta mentioned, we are part of one society, and we should take our, let's say, responsibilities and being together, both men and women. So we should be a little bit maybe more confident, but there are even situations that women are more confident than women. So we should attract them to our discussions as well. So keep training women from the region. I believe in regional cooperation in a world that we live in today. It's more than ever necessary to be together, because our region is it's a must. I mean, we are living here. We can't move and change the situation. That's why with our empathy and our professionalism, we could do a lot in our region for the cooperation. So that's it from me.
Thank you very much, Ms. Mikhailova. So we got an answer at the micro level and at the macro level. We need to continue dialogues, trainings. Oh, I see another hand raised, Ambassador Milinkovic. You wanted to join the discussion?
Thank you very much. Very shortly, I must say that we are very grateful to Bulgaria. Our young diplomats are attending your academy, but also are very satisfied with the courses for young diplomats that is organized by BSEC. So they are still organizing, I must admit, with the financial assistance of Germany, which used to be our partner state. Unfortunately, not anymore. We don't have any partner state in the BSEC anymore, but that is another story. I just want to be short. I just inspired by Roberta's intervention, just to mention that in Belgrade, the beginning of June, organized by our National Assembly and the International Parliamentary Union, there will be a conference for the women parliamentarians. The title is Advancing Parity, Breaking the Barriers of Gender Stereotypes and Negative Social Norms. We expect about 400 parliamentarians, lady parliamentarians, although in the invitation itself, which is also sent to the PEPSEC Secretariat, in the invitation it was mentioned that it would be preferable if there will be at least one man in the delegation as well, not just women. So please have this in mind in your contacts with the parliamentarians from your countries. We really expect a very fruitful discussion and conclusions from that meeting and that conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. If there are no other panelists that wish to take the floor or participants that would like to engage in the discussion, what you mentioned, Ambassador, feeds into the takeaway that we need more dialogue. So that would be one occasion to basically continue the discussion and the dialogue on these specific issues by involving women, and also important by involving men as well. And at the same time, at the macro level, the vision that our participants outlined is one of continuous struggle. So we need this to be day by day, but also on the long term. And we must not be complacent, but continuously lead by example, both men and women, and be reminded of what our ultimate goal is. Having said that, I would like to hand over the floor to Maria. Thank you once again. It was truly a pleasure to be in your company.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Anna. Your panel was actually excellent, very inspiring. I was supposed to briefly sum up to highlight the main points of the webinar, but I think you have said it all. I don't need to repeat what you have said. The important thing is just summing up. It's a current everyday struggle. Of course, we have to fight. Of course, we have to support education, and also to decide in ourselves that we never want to be a quota. I don't want to be part of a discussion or part of a structure because the law says though. I don't want to be quota. I want to reach a point where quota will not be needed anymore. And it's not us versus them, because after all, we're all human beings. So at this point, I would like to invite and give the floor to Her Excellency Ambassador Merve Cavaxi. Do I pronounce it well? Your Excellency Merve Cavaxi, to give the closing remarks and conclude the webinar. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you so very much, dear Maria. Perfect pronunciation. Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. I am the first Deputy Secretary General at BSEC, representing Turkey, and I am, I suppose, one of the ambassadors of Turkey that make 28.4% of all ambassadors of the country. Throughout the webinar, our speakers stressed indeed the importance and indispensability of gender equality in our region. When we look at the statistical data, and here we thank very much to ICBSS for the recent report they have shared with us, titled Gender Equality in Decision-Making and Employment in the Wider Black Sea Region, and also celebrate the news they have heralded, namely the launching of the Gender Equality Program. We see that the data in our region is not in any way independent, mutually exclusive of the complications and crucibles, if I may, of the larger global scale vis-a-vis gender equality and equity. That is to say, we clearly see that there is a wide room for improvement. While we more or less all have the legal framework and policy ramifications with respect to women emancipation, empowerment, and gender equality, as countries around the Black Sea and more, there still exists a challenge of reverberating these onto the reality on the ground and ameliorate the status of women overall, and in particular in diplomacy. At this more than ever securitized world of ours, undoubtedly, we need more women at every facet of diplomacy. But we must not stop there, as you have all agreed. Female diplomats must join hands with women of politics, women of academia, and civil society. And we must always keep in mind, and I remind myself at first, that this is a kinetic, living process. It is not a process that we can conclude, wrap it up, put it aside, suspend it up in the air. It's an organic living process. Thank you very much. On my behalf, I have learned a lot as an academic and as a current diplomat. I very much value the information you have provided. Maria, before I yield, let me take this opportunity to thank two great women, not so visible here among us, who had put this event together. Evie from our home BSEC PERMIS and Georgia from ICBSS. Thank you. And I yield the floor.
A warm applause for the organizers, to all these ladies, and also George, Mr. Mitrakos, who have prepared this amazing webinar. Okay, can I call you ladies, girls? It's been an honor being with you here today. I've learned many, many things as a journalist and as a woman also, and as political scientist, let's say, because my background is on sociology and international relations. Actually, this event was very important in order to understand the situation in your countries and in the wider Black Sea region, especially in these difficult times we're facing. So I would really wanted to thank the organizers, namely the Organization of the Black Sea Economic Cooperation, BSEC, and the International Center for Black Sea Studies for their kind invitation and giving me this opportunity to be part of this very important discussion. And also I have to let you know that every time you need me, feel free to contact me in order, if I can, of course. I do know very well all the subject, but I'm a good listener. If it's needed to moderate any of your events in your countries, would be a great honor for me. So I wish you, let's say, a good day, a good mid-term future, because you know every day for you is a very hard fact. And thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. Bravo, well done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Georgia. Mrs. Hadji.